Don't turn that dial. Crosslife Radio is now on.
At the cross, I surrender my life. I'm in all of you. I'm in all of you. I owe all to you. I owe all to you, Jesus.
It's not entertainment. It is the truth.
Welcome to the Crosslife Radio program. This is your host, Pastor Daniel Gamble, and over the next few days, we are continuing a message that I did, a radio program on Facebook the other day on abortion. And so we're going to get into part 2 of this discussion right now.
You have a right that is given to you not by government, not by Congress, not by the Supreme Court, but a right that is given to you by your Creator. The God who created you gave you the right to not believe in God. Now there's not necessarily a good result that comes from that, but you have that right. God has given us the right to life. And we have no right, except in the case of self-defense or war. We have no right to take the life and infringe upon the liberty and freedoms of another individual. God created man. That's the political point of view. God created man from the dust of the ground. He breathed the breath of life into him, and he became a living soul. Your spirit, your soul, is a piece of the divine. You're God's creation. You're not a little God, as some wackos teach out there, and we've talked about that on this radio program before. But you were created by God for a purpose and a reason. I believe it was said to Jeremiah that while you were still in your mother's womb, I ordained you a prophet unto the nations. God created Adam and Eve, and then he gave them the ability to procreate his creation. It's one of the most sacred duties and responsibilities that we have in life. As one man and one woman within the bonds of marriage, which meet the biblical standards of God. And let me back up and clarify even further, one man and one woman being the gender of their birth. You have an XX chromosome and an XY chromosome, and that determines who you are. And there's other variations out there. There's XXX and all this other stuff. But if you have a Y chromosome, it determines one thing, and the absence of a Y chromosome determines the other. One man and one woman being the gender of their birth. That God created us, put us together within the bonds of marriage, sacred and a holy union. One of the greatest tasks that God has given us is to procreate, to multiply, to be fruitful, and to spread the human race to the next generation. That as parents, as just speaking for me, when I had my first child, of course I can look back now, I didn't think it then, but when I had my first child, I was pretty much a child myself. I was 20 years old. Didn't have hardly no money whatsoever. My wife and I have known each other almost our entire lives. I was 5 years old and she was 4 when we met. One time in service when we were about that age, went up to her, and we grew up in the same church, went to up to her and said, "Hey, you're my girlfriend." And she said, "Okay." And here we are, been married going on 12 years now. We were sweethearts off and on, just like little kids do. Got different girlfriends and boyfriends. She had the boyfriends, I had the girlfriends. Don't get worried. Did I say that right? I had the girlfriends and she had the boyfriends. And, but we had gotten together when I was 19 and she was 18 or 19. We were both 19. And we had gotten engaged and we were going to get married. And we had kept ourselves pure. But a few months away from our marriage date, we gave in to temptation. And my daughter Haley came to being. And of course, we went ahead and got married whenever we found that out. Long story short, completely foreign from this, but our pastor at the time, that was our pastor for 20 years, was just in hindsight, just a wicked man. He told us to lie about it. I wanted to stand before the church, admit my sin, because I was in a pulpit ministry at the time. I wanted to stand before the church, admit my sin, ask for forgiveness, and do whatever it took to be able to rebuild the trust. His exact words were, "You can never tell anyone the truth. You lie about it. You can never, ever tell anyone the truth." Boy, that was just stupid. But I listened to I listened to everything he said that time, and so that's what we did. A few years later, when he had an affair with my baby sister, and we left the church, the very first thing we did is we started telling people the truth. I said all that, and did not intend on telling you this, but I said all that to let you know a couple things. Number one, I'm a human being like you. I've made mistakes in my past. God forgave me of those mistakes, and because of the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ, I am who I am today. But I also know what it's like to be in those shoes, and I also know what it's like to not do things exactly how God plans. But we didn't have anything. I had a job, a part-time job, with Ace Hardware at the time. I mean, looking back now, I don't know how in the world we thought we were even ready to get married. I throw a baby in the mix, and it's even crazier. I had to live, thank God, we were able to live for until our daughter was born. Got married, lived with her parents. They were gracious and allowed us to stay, and a month or so after our daughter was born, we got our own place, and we had an old single wide trailer that was in such horrible condition. I think it had a sewer leak underneath it, because it was a horrible smell at times, and it had a constant infestation of flies. It was unlivable whenever we rented the thing, but we got it for $300 a month, and that included water. We had to basically paint the entire thing and clean the carpet and do all kinds of work to it to even make it to where we could even live in it. We were there, I think, for a year or so, and then we were able to step up and move into another house. And it was a step up for us, and it was a nice house. And then we were there for 2 years, and when our next child was on the way, we were able to get into a brand new house that nobody had lived in. And God gave us an amazing deal on that. We lived there for 4 or 5 years, and God really blessed us. We loved it. I injured my back and was unable to make the money that was necessary to stay in it. And at the time that we had reached the limits of being able to do it anymore, God opened up a door, and we inherited property that already had a septic tank system on it and everything. Even already had the footers on it for a home. We inherited that property. We needed a home to move on to it. We're driving up and down the road and found a home that was out in the middle of a field that had some slight damage to it from slight damage to it from a tornado. And we found out who the owner was, and the owner said, "Hey, if you can pull it off the property, you can have it." And so we pulled it off at absolutely zero cost to us and did some work to it and fixed it. And that's what we live in today. Truly the blessings of God. But had we looked at the situation as the world says it and says, okay, we don't have any money, we don't have any place to live, this burden that's going to be on us, then we would have terminated that pregnancy. And I would not have the beautiful girl that I have today, one of 3 beautiful children that I possess. In fact, that girl that I'm talking about right now is sitting right over here. Haley, come around here, baby girl, and show these individuals how beautiful you are. 10 years old, almost 11. I cannot believe it. Look how beautiful she is. And the world would have told me to abort her and kill her. Thank you, girl. You can go on. The world would have told me to kill her. You have no idea what a blessing she's been to me, been to my wife. And see, I can't say some things here because she's right here, and I wouldn't say it over in public anyway, but the Lord has already told me a lot of things about her and what she'll do for Him. And I'm excited about that. And I know now the blessing that if she serves the Lord and walks in His commandments, I know the blessing that she's going to be not only to us, but to the rest of the world.
Well, that's all the time that we have for today. We're going to pick up this program tomorrow, same time, same place. We'll see you then. God bless.
Don't like what he's saying? The Pharisees didn't like what Jesus said either.
Crosslife Radio.